One of my favorite moments in that chapter, and even like while editing it, that it keeps coming back to, is that scene where Sean and Devin there towards the end, they're standing up, they're fishing. Devin's kind of fussing with the fish on the ground, and Sean's kind of stumbling through his process. Like he's trying to say what he's feeling, but you can kind of see that internal struggle where he doesn't really want to say it at the same time, or maybe he's trying to find it. But really what he's trying to say is like, I'm scared that you're going to bring something up that I'm not aware of in a way in which I fail as a father, really. That like, I can kind of deal with my failures that I'm aware of, but knowing that I've failed you and I have no awareness of it, like that can actually be really hurtful, and it's really a fear of that. Oh, here's another example of where I messed up, where I missed my daughter, What I appreciate so much about that is just the realness of it. He's just stumbling through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a scary place for any of us to go as fathers, is to go there with our kids and open up that door to answer that question. Where have I missed you as a father? One of our most significant questions we ask out here on these trips pretty often is if you could have a do-over as a father, what would that be and why? Or if you could have a do-over in the treatment of your dad, what would that be and why? Such a powerful question and scary question. It invites, again, that next layer of healing, that next chapter in your family line of wholeness and moving into it, because when you're coming at that as two adults, especially like in this scenario, you're able to approach that moment or go back to that moment in time with the heart to move toward your father or toward your daughter, not to make them an enemy, So it's hard to not take that guilt on, this is where I've missed my kids, or I can't believe I missed them in that way. But to know that the heart of your child in that moment is, well, give yourself some grace though, Dad, because I missed you in this way too, or we both could have done it better. And that's one thing I really appreciated with Sean and Devin, that heart to give each other grace and continue. They're on this trip because they're wanting to move toward each other. So it gives that backdrop for that tough, vulnerable conversation to take place, because you're in there to build the relationship, not to attack one another. As hard as that can feel sometimes to receive some of what's said.
Conflict, we have these false assumptions about how it's supposed to play out in our family line, right? Like if I'm a good dad, I shouldn't be having as many of these. And it just is covering it up. It's just kind of brushing it to the side, and then it just hangs out in these family lines. And I think we all have experiences with this real time, of it just hangs out and it just grows, and it becomes such a non-talked about massive issue in not just your relationship, but it just starts spreading out.
Yeah, it doesn't go away.
It does not go away. It only grows, and I mean, at the risk of confusion, I'm going through series 2 right now. I've mentioned that in the past. I'm going through with a couple of amazing dads here in Anacortes. And in Cycle Breakers, the second series, there's an amazing moment that happens between Daniel and Connor when they're talking about this past conflict and the emotion that comes with it. It's a pretty heavy moment. I would absolutely encourage people to go back and check it out. Pretty sure it's chapter 6. And you just watch these guys, Connor, the kid, is in his mid-20s. The father's in his 50s. And they're just engaging this thing at a level where it's not the conflict and seeing them like, oh man, what a poor father and son. You're like, dang, look at this dad and this son doing work. And it was awesome. It was fighting absence with intentional presence for the restoration of a family line. You just saw it happening. So so Sean and Devin, it's like, look at that courage. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and they're just getting started, obviously. There's more to come in the chapters where they really start to engage that conflict head on. It's kind of being alluded to here, but it's not really being talked about. And,
can't give away too much here.
Yeah. But
I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
Oh, dang.
Well, you'll
Spoiler alert.
Find out here in a few weeks. So
More conflict.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
Once again, just invite you, if there's a dad and a daughter in your community that you need to tell about this, please do. It is so worth walking through. I'm going to be doing this with my daughter, and I invite you to do the same with a few guys in your community.